Hi guys, it's Coach Joe Micela, Performance One Advanced Sports Training, 2012 Olympic team coach. We've been having a lot of questions about the differences between jumping and plyometrics. Is all jumping plyometrics in nature? And the short answer to that is no. Just because you're jumping and doing jumps where there's just jumping off the ground, or you're doing jump ropes, or even doing a box jump, that's not all considered plyometric training. Pure definition of what a plyometric is that it's going to be a very forceful eccentric loading of the body with a force that's usually greater than their own body weight, and then a short amortization phase to come back up, contract back up in the air. So for example, if an athlete is now going down and they're jumping up in the air, well, me just doing that and coming back down is a jump, but it's not necessarily plyometric in nature because I'm not coming back down to the ground with an excessive force, extra of my own body weight. Well, how do I accomplish that? Back in the day, they basically came up with a formula. You see if someone is going to participate in plyometric exercises, that athlete should be able to back squat at least 1.5 times their body weight. And the question was always like, well, why? You know, if I'm just jumping or I'm jumping up onto a box, say the box is 20 inches and I'm jumping on the box, why would it be necessary for that? It's not if you're just jumping up onto the box, you're just jumping in the air. But again, to get that forceful eccentric load of that body and that quick reflex out, okay, it's going to take some more magnitude. So we have like a box in front of us, to be jumping down off of that box. And it had to be of a significant height to elicit that 1.5 to 2 to 3 times their body weight in terms of force that's going to impact the ground. And that started anywhere between 20 inches or 24 inches up to 3 feet to up to 4 or 5 feet. And it was those depth jumps, pushing athletes off of big boxes and then coming down, that force on their body was very significant. Again, somewhere up to 3 times, somewhere up to 5 times their body weight of force that was going to be absorbed on their muscles and on their tendons and ligaments. So to cut down on injuries of those athletes experiencing knee injuries, ankle injuries, or muscular injuries of tearing of the quads or whatever, they said, hey, first get that athlete up to a 1.5 of their body weight. So again, you have an athlete that weighs 200 pounds, you want to see that they can do 1.5 times that, okay? So they're doing at least 200 pounds, they're doing almost 300 pounds or a back squat, that they know that if they land off this box of 3 or 4 feet in the air, that they're not going to, it's going to cut down on those injuries of their body. Okay, they're going to have that tendon and ligament strength. They're going to even have that bone density to be able to do those types of movements. So today we're going to talk about and show you some different forms of those types of plyometric exercises that we would do, and also just some type of resistance jumping exercise that's working on a static drive, okay? And that's another thing people think of, like if you do a static hold, then jump in the air. Was that plyometric? No, it's not, okay? It's a jump, but it's not necessarily plyometric in nature. There has to be that quick, heavy, eccentric load, whether it's provided by an external resistance or the sheer fact that your body is now higher up off the ground, and when you're landing down or something pulling you down, is pulling you down at a greater force rate, greater load capacity than initially set on. And that usually we do that with a height, or we do that with an external resistance, whether that be a barbell, whether it be a dumbbell, whether it be bands or straps. And we're going to talk about that today. All right, so we're going to go over again our variations of different types of box jumps, and when it becomes just a jump and when it becomes a plyometric type movement. And we're going to first with our most basic of jumps is our counter movement jump, meaning he's going to perform a short squatting motion, and then he's going to explode out of that squatting motion, and he's going to land on top of the box, okay? So he's going to go, set, and explode. Not bad. Then we have 2 different versions of this jump. So when they're going into this counter movement jump, they're trying to land as deep as possible in a squat on the box. The other version is they're trying to land somewhat straight-legged on the box. So he's going to do one where he's going to land like in a squat. He's going to explode down and land in a squat on the box. Boom. And then he's going to come back. Now he's going to do the next version where he's going to try to land as straight-legged as possible. Go. Good. Why would we do either one? If we're trying to jump and land in a squat, he's also working on a bit of flexibility. And he's also working on bringing his knees up. So as he's jumping, he's landing into that squat. Again, it's part mobility and reaction, okay, to explode out of that position. The longer he can do it with a straight leg, that means that arc or that height in the air has to be greater. So now we're working on more drive off the ground. Whereas the other one, he's just kind of like exploding a little bit, but then he's just trying to bring his knees up to his chest. Okay, so it's almost more of a mobility movement, a reactionary thing, but it's not as much about trying to go for maximum height. The more straight leg he can land, that means the more he has to push off of the ground to get that height in the air of hang time before he lands onto the box. Another version of this is him doing a static start. So he would pause in either a quarter or a half or a full squat. He'd wait there for a count of 1 or 2 seconds, and then he would explode up. And then again, landing in either one of those preferred landings. So Nate's gonna get down into a squat. He's gonna wait there, and then he's gonna explode up and land and come back down. Okay, he's gonna go now a little bit lower on this one, on the squat start. He's gonna squat down lower, 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 jump, boom, and down. Now what we're trying to do here is have that athlete start motionless. So we'd also have a variation where their arms are now behind them, because we want to use arms along with their legs to generate that vertical thrust. And sometimes we may just have them keep their hands on their hips, because we want to just really just them focus. Usually the younger kids would say, just put your hands on your hips. And Nate's going to do one where he's going to bend down, but his hands are going to stay on his hips, and then explode up, boom, and then he's going to land back down. Once they get that motion down, then we start bringing in their arms in there. Both of those movements are not plyometric, because there was no forceful eccentric loading of that muscle in his legs and then a rapid acceleration out of that position. Nate now is going to stand on top of the box. So he's going to stand on top of the box, and his first movement is going to be to jump backwards down to the floor, and then as fast as possible, with the shortest amount of time touching the ground, get back to that box and stay there. He's going to jump down with the least amount of time touching the ground. Like we always say with your younger kids, is like it's hot lava, you're going to explode right back up. Ready? Go. Down, up, boom. Not bad. He's going to try to, we're waiting about 2 to 5 seconds. Again, we want this to be max effort explosion. He goes down again, go. Boom, up, not bad, and he lands, okay? Now our next version of that is gonna be then rapid fire from down, up, down, up, down, up. Again, in like a burst kind of fashion of anywhere between 3, and we don't really like to do this more than 5 repetitions with our Olympic lifters or any pure power-based athlete. So Nate's gonna perform 3 explosive jumps, up, down, up, down, up. Go, boom, down, boom, 2, boom, and 3, not bad. What part of that became plyometric? When he went back down after that first rep. So he jumped on the box, then when he came down and back up going into rep number 2, that motion became now more of a plyometric nature. Then we would do things in rapid bursts. So we have everything where the earlier one was 1 rep and explode and wait, boom, and wait, boom, and wait. And then we had a little bit of that rapid burst. We had a static start where he stayed in the bottom, 1 to 2 count, and then he would explode up. With that static hold and other variations, we're going to have now a loaded, okay, eccentric portion of that movement. So he's going to now hold about 40-pound dumbbells, so 80-pound total extra to his body weight. Nate weighs about 190 pounds or so, give or take, a little on the chubby side. When he comes down, he's going to release those dumbbells in the bottom portion of the squat and rapidly jump up onto the box. He's only going to hold it for like a brief second into that squat, and then he's going to let go of them. He squats down, let's go, boom, and jumps immediately. Good. There takes a little bit of timing with that. We're trying not to let the chest drop too much. He's going to pick him up again. He's going to do it again. He stands up. He lowers him down. Go. Boom. Not bad. Good. Again, what we're trying to do here is elicit a heavy eccentric load on the body. But then he's going to let it go, and then that potentiation of energy is to explode up. Okay? Again, it's another variation. Now, then we have obviously resisted. Resisted box jumps we'll talk about another time where you're jumping up. So one of the next movement that we do, and we actually use this movement a lot in terms of, some type of plyometric jump and resisted jump, kind of covers a lot of bases with us, is a barbell squat jump. And most of the time we're going to do this as a rapid fire, and again, load this up in weight. So an athlete is going to get under the bar, just as if he was going to perform a back squat. Now we'll have different versions of this, but our primary version is about a quarter depth, okay? Almost the same depth that they're going to use for their dipping of their jerk. As soon as they hit that quarter depth position, they're accelerate out of it. So we're, again, adding an extra load to their body. They're going to try to jump from max height. As soon as they hit the ground, we're going to go again, okay? And he's going to perform anywhere between 5 to 8 repetitions, but today we're just going to do 5. Ready? Go. Down, explode. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, nice. And he puts it away. We would work up in this exercise to, again, a very significant weight. It could be up to 50% of their best back squat. Why? Because again, we want to elicit that loading. Now, I wouldn't do that unless the athlete could already show me that they could back squat at least 1.5 times their body weight. So if I know that, I'm taking a guy like Nate, like I said, he's about 190 pounds, I wouldn't really go over, like I said, 150 pounds to 160 pounds with him in particular. But we would get some athletes, again, we would go up to, could be 100 kilos. You think we get them to go up to 100 kilos. The most I think that was recorded was a barbell squat jump with Shane Hammond. I want to say did well over 250 kilos. I think he got off the ground with it. I know I personally witnessed Natalie Wolfhook, or Natalie Bergner now, she's married. When she came down and visited us one year, she did 142 kilo for a set of 2, I believe, 2 or 3 reps with a barbell squat jump. So that was about 315 pounds, and she weighed about 145 pounds, give or take. When she did that, she was a 2008 Olympian, and she was able to do that. Okay, again, as a form of developing that explosive strength. We could also do it as a static hold. They would hold at a certain position, they would explode out of there. Okay, great for, again, general sport athletes to develop that static hold and then to go against there. Also to do it timed, okay, to do this movement, say, hey, we have to get from point A to point B. I want you to do 5 repetitions. I want to see how quickly you can do it. So we can use it as a measurable. There's a lot of different measurable devices out there too to measure how high you're going, okay? Again, the load is important on this, okay? Too light is going to work one aspect. The heavier you get on this, again, that gets more of that plyometric fashion. Again, excessive load on that athlete's body in that eccentric portion of the movement, and they have to quickly change direction and concentrically jump up. We use this exercise a lot with our general sport athletes and even with our weightlifters to some degree. So another form of resistance jumping exercise that can also be a plyometric would be using some type of band. The easiest to get the most people in and out of would be taking 2 heavy dumbbells or kettlebells or something you know is not going to move, and then attaching bands to those dumbbells. Here we're doubling up on a smaller band, and Nate is grabbing onto the bands, and he's going to perform again that counter movement jump, and he's going to now go for max height. Well, the bands are now, as they get stretched out, are going to kind of whip him and pull him back down to the ground. Again, depending on the thickness of the band, will give you, a little bit more of that resistance, so they're pushing back down. Same thing, he's going to be anywhere between that 5 to 8 range. He's going to go down. He's going to explode up. 2, 5, not bad. Another variation of this is he taking one of the bands. So if say he wants to be getting his arm action involved in the movement, okay? Another variation, so say he wants to get his arms involved in the motion, we will now put the bands on top of his shoulders, kind of an X formation, and he's going to do the same 5 to 8 repetitions, where again, he's using his arm action as he's jumping. Ready? Go. 1, he's jumping, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? Now you tell me, which resistance felt greater, the first one or the second one? First one, because again, the bands were shorter and he had to pull them. Now, with holding them, just like with any of these movements, there's a certain technical learning curve to them. And you don't want this to be like a pure deadlift when he's going, or a good morning when he's doing it, or the athlete feel like they're getting too much of an arm workout when they're doing the exercise. That's why obviously the barbell. Not everyone has bands, and again, this could be potentially, like I said, you're bringing dumbbells over, maybe somebody needs to use the dumbbells, you got using the bands, how quickly can you get someone in and out. Barbells can be a little bit easier. Some boxes can be a little bit easier. Not everyone has boxes that go pretty high. That's when the barbells come in. Some people get a little worried about jumping with barbells. They feel like it's too much compression force on their back. I'm like, well, the kid's squatting, right? Yeah, well, it's not going to be anything more than what he's doing. Especially we already determined he can back squat more than 1.5 times of that given weight. Again, everything takes a learning. It takes a coach's eye to help develop them. So even if they're doing a barbell squat jump, it doesn't turn into this good morning exercise. Or when they're landing, they're not doing anything funky that now they're potentially tweaking a knee or an ankle. So we've been asked, what is our opinion on the assisted jump? with a band attached to a pull-up bar, and athletes are now holding onto the band and they're jumping off of the ground and using the band. And you're looking at it from a concept of what's the goal of that exercise. So this exercise, as I say, you're taking an athlete, say of my size, about 240 something pounds. And now I could do this, and I could probably do now more repetitions than I could normally do in a jumping exercise. Kind of like doing a kipping pull-up. Well, if I can only do 5 pull-ups on my own strict, but then I add a kip to it, now I'm going to be in that 10, maybe even 15, maybe even 20 rep range, because now I'm getting help. When you're doing this assisted jump, it's now taking like a percentage of your body weight off. You can look at it as that, oh, great, you know, this now athlete who's now 240 pounds or even a 300 pound athlete now can do that. Now, but what benefit does that really have entail for that athlete if it's taking a percentage of his body weight off to jump? One could be that you're rehabbing them back from an injury and you don't want them to use all their weight when they're jumping. And I can understand that. But part of that rehab is that to be able to do that. I'm not a fan from that perspective of using that as an analogy of to do this particular exercise. Now, the other, reason that has been given to me why athletes should do these is from a reaction standpoint, okay? And I'm like, okay, great. Well, how is that better than if they just jumped, okay, on their own with their own body weight? Because we want to have that force, because they're going to play against that force plus an additional force when they play against their sport. So then that argument I kind of throw out the window too. I actually believe if you're going to do this exercise is to actually use this exercise to get you higher off the ground and then to let go of the band. Because now I'm at a higher height that I wouldn't normally be at if I jumped on my own. And then that force back down to the ground is going to create a greater reaction on my body. Now, the downside of that is you just can't do it as fast, okay, as you would doing it with a barbell, doing a resisted jump, or multiple boxes to do multiple depth jumps on a box. So Nate's going to kind of demonstrate how this movement is kind of to be done, where he's going to hold onto the band pretty high, again, to give him a little bit of additional, and he's going to jump and he's going to go three times just to see, again, that springing action of him jumping higher than he would probably normally jump. Good. And he pulls and he pulls and he pulls. Good, not bad. Now, I've had him do this before, and I don't do these exercises, but the first thing he told me is I feel like I'm getting more of an arm workout than I am getting a lower body workout in it. So again, what is your goal of the movement and what is it to elicit, okay, as you do that? Now, my goal, if I was gonna have someone do this, would be to do 1 or 2 of those movements to kind of prep them, and on the 3rd rep, pull themselves up and then let go of the band. Now they're coming back down to the ground with a greater height than they normally would to create more stress on their lower body and then have them jump back up again, just in the air. So it'd be 1, 2 pumps, and then the 3rd one he would let go and then he would catch himself. Here, we'll give it a go. 1, 2, he's pulling, and he pulls and he lets go, okay? Boom. So now he's jumping as if it would be from a depth jump of a height of, say, a higher box. He's coming down. So you can get that little initial dynamic effort that you're trying to get, but then you're getting that more forceful. Okay, again, but something with that is, as you saw, then he's got to let go of it. He's got to get reset up. He's going to do it again. So yes, you could do a set of 8. It's just going to take you a long time. Whereas if you were doing a barbell squat jump, boom, 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 or you have multiple boxes set up, or you're doing a reactionary jump where you're standing on a box and coming back down to the box, you can get done a lot faster. Again, I'm not completely shitting on this idea. I just would be like, hey, there's a better solution. Does it kind of look cool? You see all these kids jumping like 7 feet in the air in your gym? Yeah. But in reality, what is your end goal of that movement? If it's just fast reaction time and contacts of your foot, I think you can get it done with something else. You're not taking up every pull-up bar in the station. If it's now to help a kid from a recovery standpoint, I think there's better methods, okay? Now, if you're trying to use it because you don't have a ton of boxes to do some box jump of depth, okay, then as you saw, it's going to take you a little bit more, okay? You don't want to make it a pure upper body exercise with the athlete. Same thing with us doing with a barbell squat jump. If the technique is not there, they're going to feel it too much on their back, or they're going to feel it in someplace else, and that's not going to be the greatest either, okay? Again, not a fan, okay? Some coaches use it. I'm not completely shitting on your idea of using it. Like I said, if you want to explain to me how you use it that's different from what I just mentioned, I am all ears. I'm willing to learn. Again, from my observations of how I break it down mechanically and from an effective standpoint, I think there's better methods out there. All right, and there again, guys, there's a bunch of different jumps that you can do. The next one, we pretty much did everything vertically. The only thing that we do, and there's a lot of other jumps that we do, but one of the other ones that can remember as a main concept is some type of broad jump. So not only we use this as our basic testing of an athlete, but we use it again, even with weightlifters and general strength and conditioning athletes. Again, it's not only is developing that vertical thrust, but now can you generate it out? Nate here is going to, again, take a counter movement jump where he's going to squat down to a quarter to a full or a full squat. He's going to angle his body. He's going to try to jump out as far as he can. Ready? Go. Down. He explodes. Good. So we're bending our arms. We're swinging. Okay, down and up. Then he's going to walk back to that same position. So again, we got a variation where it's a counter movement jump or it's a static, where he'll squat down, wait there for me to release him, and then he'll go out from that position. Ready? On me. Go. Boom. Not bad, okay? Why would we do a static? Again, to generate more of that initial force, or that starting strength and power to generate that out. Another one that we like to do is to do multiple jumps in a row. So that he would jump and then jump again, and then preferably jump a third time. Now, with that particular motion, he's not going for maximum distance on the very first one. So again, say his maximum distance is around 6 feet. He's going to be a little shy of that on that first one. So make sure he has control of his body to allow him to jump into another one. So maybe he's at like 5. But the goal is that he's not only he's jumping out for that distance, again, in that 90% range of what he just previously jumped as a max, but then he's reacting to that with short ground reaction time and then exploding back out. And again, it's reaction time, it's his body's ability to absorb force and then quickly generate that force and propel him out. Again, very transferable to sport. He's gonna now, we're just gonna do 2 here for the video. Ready? Down, go. Boom, boom. Again, the big key is that reaction time into that first jump and out into the second jump. And then on average, each jump should get progressively further. So that if you're doing 2 or even 3 jumps, that last jump is the farthest, okay? And that's where they can kind of unleash and go a little bit more max effort. Again, on any type of jumps that we're looking at, the great thing about it is as soon as he does something like this, then he has to walk back to the beginning or he can start on that end, but we're giving him time, okay? Some people do jumps, or especially when they're trying to make it plyometric in nature, and they give them very, very short rest intervals, and it's not the ideal situation. When you're doing a heavy plyometric jump that is requiring a heavy stimulus on their body, whether it be from a depth or from a resistance on their body, you're going to give them the same rest period if you were going to give them like an 85% and up back squat. So if we're going to go to like 90% or 100% of the back squat, you're not going to give them 30-second rest and say, all right, we're going to do 5 singles at 95% of your best back squat. Let's go. Same thing with your jumps. Give them time. Give them 2 or 3 minutes, you know, to get the most out of that. Now, it's just jumping in nature. That could be more of a conditioning thing, and it could be a very short period of time. We're talking these maximum efforts, this maximum motor unit recruitment, this maximum neural stimulus on their body. You need to give them a little more rest to be more prepared for it. And again, don't do it for like 2 hours, you know, and do like 100 sets of it, okay? Keep it in like the 3, maybe 5 rep range. And again, depending on what you've also done that day will determine how many sets you totally do. You may just have to do 3 sets. It's just enough to keep their body stimulated, okay? Because you've done so many other things, okay? It's more about them not losing something, okay, is just as important as them gaining. Okay, you got to know that manipulation of volume and load on the athlete and that cumulative effect on them, and not just keep pounding them, okay? Plus, if you're in a situation like I am, I'm a private strength and conditioning coach, are these athletes coming from another sport? Oh, by the way, they got volleyball tryouts this week. Oh, by the way, he's also have to lift at his, you know, before school on his football team, then he's coming to you. But he's also doing some type of plyometric over there. And their coach may or may not know how to really implement it. They may have the greatest, soundest program in the world, but they're coming to us, or maybe from a technical standpoint. So I may not even throw in the plyometrics, knowing they're going to get it over there. And then maybe the opposite. I know they're not getting it over there, or they're not getting it to the degree that we would do it, but then I have to manipulate how much I'm going to do with them. So that's all has to be configured into the program. Jumping can be done every day. Plyometrics, not so much. Plyometrics, I would, again, depending on where they're at in the season, 2-3 times a week. Jumping in general, or some type of static movement where you're doing a static and being powerful, that can be done every day. And I would encourage it to be done every day. Okay, but something where you're doing a heavy depth jump off a 4 or 5 foot box, or you're doing, you know, 150 to 200 pound barbell squat jumps. That's not something you're going to do every day, okay? Because again, you're doing so many other things. Know the place and the time to do that. If you have any more questions, please reach out to us. Please subscribe to our channel, add us some comments. We're trying to respond to as many of the comments as we can. Like I said, it gets a little, time consuming, but we want to hear from you in any direction you would like to see us talk about. We're going to do our best to reach out to you. Take care.